I want you to imagine with me that you went to church, synagogue, or wherever you would go for a service, and the priest, pastor, or rabbi stood up and he said, "Good morning. We're going to have a little quiz today. The first question is this: Who was the first man created, as reported in the Old Testament?" And everybody shouted out, "Adam." Who is it that built the ark? And everybody shouted out, "Noah." And he went on to say, and what is the first verse of Leviticus chapter 27 in the Bible? What does it say? And everybody sat there completely quiet, completely still. And the priest, the pastor, the rabbi said, Leviticus 27:1 says this: "Again the Lord spoke to Moses, saying." Again the Lord spoke to Moses, saying. Thank you for coming today, and the service was over. You left and you said, something's missing. What's wrong? You weren't sure what it was. You talked about the Bible. You talked about God. You'd gone to church. You'd even learned something new. You didn't know what Leviticus 27:1 was before that particular service, but it was still dead. That was my spiritual life, dead. I wish I could take you to my house and show you my library, because there's where I chronicle my search. There's a whole series of books on the Bible. I thought, boy, if I could learn everything there was about the Bible, I'd be alive. I found that I could learn a lot about the Bible and still have demons inside that I couldn't conquer, that I couldn't get on top of. So I just needed to learn more about the Bible, deeper about the Bible. I must have been just learning shallow things. And so I studied theology, and I studied philosophy, and I looked at cultures, and I looked at history. And my demons continued to be there. My worry, my envy, my lack of gratitude continued to be in place. So I thought, well, I just need to buy some how-to books. And the Christian community is full of how-to books. How to stop worrying, how to be a good husband, how to be a good parent. Oh, I read all those. I've got a section in my library on those. But something was still missing. Then I came across some verses written by none other than Paul himself, in the book of Philippians. As he's writing to the church at Philippi, he says this: if anyone could put confidence in what they could do for God, it'd be me. He says, I was circumcised the 8th day, I'm an Israeli, I'm of the tribe of Benjamin, I'm a Hebrew of Hebrews, as to the law, a Pharisee. He says, as to zeal, my enthusiasm, hey, I was a persecutor, chief persecutor of the church. As to the righteousness which is in the law, I was found blameless. He says, I had it all. I went to church, I completely tried to keep the commandments, and that was me. That was me. I identified with that. He said, whatever things were gained to me, and don't think those things don't give you anything, because they do. But he said, I count those things as loss for the sake of Christ. More than that, I count all things to be lost in view of the surpassing knowledge of knowing, the surpassing value, of knowing Christ Jesus, my Lord. He says all those things, as good as they were, they can't compare with knowing God. And at that point, I thought to myself, knowing God, God, who is he? Who is he? Well, I knew he was somebody who was loving and wise and powerful and big, and that was about the end of it. That was all I knew. And I was a pastor. At this time, when I'm going through this struggle, I was pastoring a church. So I made a commitment. I said, for the next year, every Sunday, we're going to worship God for a different quality of his. I didn't know where I was going to find him. There aren't that many songs written about different qualities of God. I mean, his wisdom, his love, his power, and then you're about out. But 52, I was going to have to find 52 qualities of God that first year. And so I began a journey that's taken me now. I'm in my mid-50s. I have continued on that quest, and that's what this YouTube series is all about. I'm going to have a 3 or 4 minute video. By the time we're done, we'll have 120 qualities of God. My list has continued to grow. By the time we get to 120, I may have found some more. But here's what my hope is. I don't think you can trust anybody more than you know them. And if your view of God is small, my hope is by spending these 3 or 4 minutes on different qualities of God, your sense of how big he is would grow. And as it grew, your faith would grow. I believe that's how it works. I can't trust anybody any more than I know them. And if you're having trouble trusting God with what's coming into your life, what's going on in your life, what isn't going on in your life, this series might be a great place to start and expand your knowledge of who God is and watch your faith come right behind it. You look behind me on the wall, you're going to see a poster, a magic poster. I love magic. I love sleight of hand. So don't be surprised if magic and sleight of hand find it into this series. It's become another way that I communicate what I know and what God continues to teach me. Thank you for listening to this introduction. I hope you find great help in this series. You sure don't need to go through it in order. Just jump in. Jump into one where you go, I've never thought about God being this. And start there. Pick and choose. Pick and choose the ones that you think will be most meaningful to you. Thanks for joining me on this journey. In sharing, of course, my journey, I continue to learn too. Thanks so much.